Hello there. Today we're going to be talking about just getting ready for the markets for Monday and commodities to be watching. So I'm just going to getting this started, get a few more people in this chat. Hello. Yeah, in this market updates, just talking about cannabis and commodities to watch for on Monday in the markets. There was a big move with Canopy on Friday. That was a pretty big move based on their financials. That was pretty impressive for Canopy. Do 125 million. Wasn't too impressed with their losses and stuff, as I've been pretty vocal before about their losses being pretty bad. But regardless, top line revenue growth isn't bad, and less negative loss too. So something to watch for, because Canopy is a leader in the space. So whatever they kind of do, it just kind of resonates within the whole cannabis sector. Just gonna tweet this on so more people can come in on Twitter. Yeah, so thanks for hitting the like. Yeah, so Metafarm Labs and Valens was interesting on Friday. They had some really explosive upside. There's just so much pent up. I'm just gonna fix this. Just so much pent up. Pent up, just demand for the stock to go higher. So I just can see it going a lot higher. Some of these stocks, just based on the momentum in cannabis, but again, there's still a big gap to fill on Canopy, so they could try to take it down as well. So it's hard to say how things are going to shake out. Hi. Yeah, so just opening up the live stream. But yeah, with Valens and Metafarm Labs as well is interesting to see how they're going to perform, but you won't be able to trade them on the TSX because on Monday it's closed, right? So really the only stocks to really watch as far as cannabis goes that I think are, that you can trade it on the OTC if you're in the USA, and there could be some good moves on that. But I'm thinking with the NYSE and with Cron and ACB and Hexo, VFF and Tilray and AFA and IIPR and like Scott's Miracle-Gro. Those are the kind of companies to kind of watch for on Monday if you are planning to make any trades for cannabis, because just with the momentum on Friday with the good revenues for Canopy, it's interesting how things will shake out if it's going to just like gap down. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see how things are going to work out. I'm not going to like say a direction and stuff, because for all I know, they could come back down to where it hit on Thursday or so before the financials. So, but they're definitely like are on like watch. You got to watch them because there could be some really big moves. I could see Canopy go to $40 Canadian, to be honest. I don't know how long it will stay there, but it's just all set up with April for having beverages in Canada. So with Afria, and then not Afria, but Canopy as well as Hexo should have beverages by April. So that's something to look into, as well as it seems as though there's going to be more stores opening up. So it'll be interesting come April as far as these things. But the big thing is there's a lot of companies that have good revenues that are going to show up in March. So you got companies like Valent and MetaPharm that haven't reported, but they're going to have some pretty good revenues, as well as like net income and EBITDA. So the market's going to probably dictate how those trade going into those earnings. So I am going to be watching those stocks pretty heavily. But there's also, there's commodities that are kind of in play as well, because just with, uranium, I know Donald Trump, he wants to invest money into uranium to have it get their own uranium in USA. So the big stock for uranium would be the triple U's, Energy Fuels, or in Canada, it's EFR. So that's an interesting one. They just actually closed financing for 16 million, I believe. It's lower than the price it is, so it could go down, right? I'm not going to say for sure if it's going to go up or down, but I think if you're watching uranium space, that's a stock that it's been around, but now it's at a pretty good price, and it could go up a lot in the next year or two. So that's a company to look into. And the USA is going to want to back that company, just the investors and stuff in the commodity space, because they're a USA centric company. Now with Kamenko, uranium's just chilling at like 24.90, so it does need to go higher. But if there's some interesting things that happen, that could really move Kamenko, CCO, CCJ in America. So it'll be interesting with that. But as well as gold and silver is interesting. I won't say the direction, because I don't know the direction, because we can't know the direction until it's like Monday, right? But I am going to say they should be, like, if you aren't watching commodities, I think you should be watching silver and gold, and companies like Barrick Gold, GOLD, or Newmont, NEM, or Wheaton Precious Metal, WPM, or like First Majestic, even, or Frank's Trust in the market, and the SPY starts going down, I expect that those will start going up. So that's just going to be the case. But it'll be interesting. How's everybody doing? If you just came into the live stream, how's everybody doing on this Sunday? You can comment on the right. I'll reply to your comments. But yeah, I'm gonna just keep going on with my talks about commodities and cannabis going into Monday. So it's just interesting with even nickel, because I've been talking, like, if you follow me, if you want to follow me on Twitter, if you haven't already, I'm at Compound Stock 13, and I tweet a lot, but I've been talking about nickel, right? So the thing with nickel is there's going to need so much nickel if they are going to really go like full tilt on battery metals for Tesla. So they're going to need it, and they just Elon Musk he knows that nickel's like very important, and he doesn't know exactly how he's going to get it. So the big nickel players could sign a big contract with Tesla, I believe, because I know coming into April, I believe they're doing some battery thing going on there. So what can happen is they're gonna potentially make deals before that April happens. They can make deals with the biggest companies. Like they want to get, you need cobalt, you need lithium, you need nickel, and there's some other parts like even copper too, right? So they can make deals with like a Freeport McMoran, like FCX, or they can make a deal with Nornickel, Nilsy, or Vale. Vale's like huge, but on top of that, it's all going to be all set as far as what happens in the commodity space if the price goes up or down as well for those stocks. So for now, but it does seem that the nickel prices and the copper prices have the potential to go up a lot in the next like 3 to 6 months. But I think it's going to really be as far as if crude starts going up. So if crude starts going up, I think those are going to go up a lot higher too. So it's interesting to watch because it's usually that's what happens when crude goes up, nickel goes up, and copper goes up. But if those go down or crude goes down, then gold and silver, they tend to trade better. So it's interesting divergence in the markets, but I just like been watching that stuff because it's important. I want to make money in the market. So these are companies like even looking into Suncor Energy SU for lithium. LTHM is on my watch list. Wheaton Precious Metal, WPM, and Barrick Gold. And then with palladium and platinum, Sprott has an actual ETF. So if you think that those are going to keep going up, it's SPPP, and he says they're all backed by actual physical platinum and palladium, and that's trading for 1641 on the U.S. exchange. But it should ride pretty tandem with the price of platinum and palladium. So that's some stock to watch. And then as well as for copper miners, global copper miners, there's a ETF called COPX. So that's an interesting one to watch. And then also for silver, my favorite silver player at the moment, I don't have a position, but I've thought about it, is Pan American Silver, and that's PAAS. So that's something I'm watching. Just need to watch the investing.com and see the direction of the commodities before I take a position, because the trend is your friend. So I just want to go with the trend. And another stock is Cameco CCO for uranium, but the pricing in uranium is kind of weird how it all happens, but they'll all post it on Cameco from time to time. So when Cameco shows the uranium prices and it starts going up, and it starts going to like $26, and they do a spot price, but then they also do a long-term price, and so the long-term price can go up, but it can also like contract and it can get like tighter towards the spot price. But if it starts, the long-term price starts going up and the spot price starts going up, then they can start to rise together. And uranium, when it does start running, like it can have some crazy momentum with uranium. So I always do watch it, but there hasn't been insane moves yet. I know that you could have picked up Cameco CCO for about $11. I think that was the lowest, maybe like $10.70 in Canada, and it's trading around like $12.50. But that's a stock that can go to like $50-$60, and it's the biggest player in uranium. So I watch that pretty religiously. But now I'm going to look into that triple UUU, energy fuels, or EFR in Canada. So that's something that I'm going to be watching. And Freeport McMoran for copper, and they're also with the cobalt. So there's been like kind of rumors about that some company might be buying their assets. So that'll be interesting how it shakes out. But we'll see. Let's get into cannabis. And the companies that really moved up on Friday were Even Co. and Hexo. Hexo moved up 19%, right? So, I mean, yeah, there's some negative publicity in the past, but same with Labs, and Labs went up like big time. So the momentum, the catalyst behind Hexo, I believe, is their beverages getting onto the product shelves by April. I don't know if they'll be ready. I think Canopy will be ready by then, but I can't be certain that Hexo will be ready. But they should be ready a little bit behind, probably, if they are. But that's what seems to be the momentum that would carry Hexo, as well as they being beaten down so bad. But there was a lot of volume. There was like 7.5 million shares traded. Now, Valens went up 13.6%, right? So, Hey, JG, glad to have you here. Hey, buddy. Um, yeah, let's make you a mod. I'll make you a mod now. Yeah, you're my mod. Good job, buddy. Yeah, I think you deserve it. You've been talking to me a lot, supporting the channel and all. So anyways, yeah, Valens at VLNS or VLNCF in America, and it moved up 13.6% on Friday. So that's an interesting stock. I own a pretty good position in that. I probably should have bought them instead of buying Labs, but Labs had a very nice move as well, 11.91% on Friday. So that's awesome because MetaPharm Labs, and it's like MEDIF, I believe, in America. So, and another one that really moved up was Organigram. Organigram moved up 11.64%, and it's trading at 355 Canadian. So that's an interesting, because I know they have chocolates coming online with Organigram. So when that comes out, I mean, that's going to add to their revenues. So that'll be good for Organigram. And JG's favorite stock, Village Farms, had a nice day on Friday at 527 American. But like the big thing, if you just got into here, yeah, that's what I was talking about. If you want to start the video at the beginning, like after the live stream's over, I did talk about how the big moves are happening in the market for cannabis, but I'm not certain that the move will continue, as well as that only USA side will be open on Monday. So that's interesting because, if it does good, but it could go down because the Canadian side won't be participating unless they're buying USA exchange stocks. So that's really what's up. But with the cannabis companies in like Cron and VFF and Tilray and Canopy Growth and IIPR and like Scott's Miracle-Gro and some other ones that I may have forgot to mention, such as Hexo and even like Neptune potentially. I know they got to deal with International Flavors and Fragrances. That's like a $14 billion big company, Flavors and Fragrances, to have a CBD line in USA. So that'll be interesting how that shakes out. But I'm not certain on the move, because for all we know, that in the market, they could just start to pound it in the morning. They could just take it down, right? Because Canopy does have a gap to fill, right? Because it gapped up on the earnings. And, I haven't made a report card for Canopy Growth, but I'll say their revenue was pretty good. Well, they still got lots of losses, but I do like the direction that the new CEO's talking. I'm very impressed with his the way he speaks. He seems to be righting the ship. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt as far as him stepping in. And I think it's wise that he wants to make a launch as far as the beverages to be like superior. He wants to really like be big crowd pleaser as far as launching those beverages, because he thinks of it the same as alcohol, right? He believes that the cannabis beverages can be as big as like alcohol. I think that's the way he sounds. Yeah, JG says that. Yeah, Neptune is looking good. Yeah, I haven't looked at it recently. I did sell my call position when it was in the money a while ago, when it spiked to like 4 something. I think that was in Canadian dollars. But for now, I'm not really, I don't really like their revenues, so I'm not really going to base that their fundamentals are great. But I do know they are connected with that International Flavors and Fragrances. So some other good news. Yeah, I think it might be launching hemp CBD in USA, but I could be wrong. I don't know every stock. I don't know every detail on every stock. So if you have some information that I don't know about, it's not some company that I've been following religiously lately ever since I sold my call position. So, but a good company to watch out for is Grow Generations, GRWG, and they are on the NASDAQ. So I think definitely watch GRWG. I think they're reporting sometime soon. So, that'll be interesting how the financials are. I think they'll be pretty decent. They should be like 23 million, maybe like 1 to 2 million in net income. So that'll be good for growth generation. But it's just it's getting more traction because the bigger institutions are piling into it. I know CNBC, the Tim Seymour's ETF, he has a pretty decent sized position in GRWG for his portfolio, so that's a good company to watch into. And what other ones to watch? Tilray moved up 7.8%, so they'll be trading tomorrow on the Nasdaq, so that'll be interesting with Tilray. And Cron moved up 6.84%. So definitely Cron, if you want to play the market tomorrow in cannabis, I think it's a company to definitely watch. I think they have very nice cash position. Oh yeah, I know what I wanted to mention. I'm just gonna say is Canopy Growth. Okay, so I keep track of their financials, right? And Canopy Growth, they had about $2 billion in no. Yeah, I'll say what's up, JG. No, they don't have a lot of outstanding shares. Very, very, very tight float. They got 35 million shares. But anyways, Canopy Growth, their financials were they had like $2 billion in marketable securities before, or it was like maybe 1.6 billion in marketable securities, and then their cash position was like 1.1 billion, right? But because they're losing money and they wanted to have a more liquid cash position, they sold a ton of marketable securities. So now they only have 700 million marketable securities, and now they have a bigger cash position than they did the previous quarter. Now they have 1.5 billion in cash. So David Klein on CGC Weed is definitely trying to make a more tighter, leaner company, but they have a lot of things to work on, and really their only savior is going to be edible products. If they're able to sell a lot of edible products, then that can really boost their profit margins as well as their beverages. But I saw in their financials as well as they did what was it? It was like oh, what I'm thinking, never mind. But the thing is that Canopy Growth is trying to be tighter and leaner and all that. So, it's a business to consumer. Well, that's what it was. So Ontario, you can sell to the consumer in the OCS. You can just launch your products and send it there, right? But no other company did that. I think it was in like mid-December that happened. And then Canopy Growth just like jump on the opportunity. That's what I read. I mean, I could be wrong, but it was like 15 million in business to consumer. So you look at like a winery in Okanagan, right? And people just like go there every day, and then they're buying, say, like $500 of wine, and then like before you know it, they sell like in the way of the profit margins. But regardless, it's added revenues if they can just sell it from their it's the same as like having a medical patient and buying it through their medical line, but it's the recreational line. So that's good revenues for Canopy Growth to add. So I'm impressed with them. I don't have a position in Canopy Growth, but people call them the bellwether and all that stuff. So hey Sheldon Stowe, how's it going? Haven't done a live stream in a while. I feel a little bit better in my life, so I decided to do a live stream. I also gonna give a shout out to Five Finger Lid. He was telling me to do a live stream on Sunday night, so I'm doing it on Sunday night. I didn't have any pre-warning, but I just posted it on my Twitter, so I'm glad to have all you guys in this live stream. And hit that like if you haven't already. Yeah, so they may also do very well with BioStill in the States when CBD does go legal. Absolutely, Sheldon Snow. I absolutely agree with you, because that is a very nice thing that they have going for them when they have athletes working with them. I don't know their revenues, to be honest. I thought that Canopy Growth might have bought them for like $4 billion. I'm not sure the exact details, but yeah, BioStill could be a very big game changer. Where was I at? I was at Booster Juice, and they were selling the BioStill drinks. But I asked the guy behind the counter, "Are you guys selling it?" He's like, "No, I'm not selling." But in the States, and I think online on some websites, I think they can sell a lot. it's also to do with more advertising and all that stuff. So it'll be interesting. I don't really know how much revenue it'll add to them, but that they have a lot of potential to make that like a game changer, where they could do like say like 300 million, 400 million, 500 million in the next like 2 to 3 or 4 years on that. So that's good for them. But they're also working on that Martha Stewart line. It's like health and wellness. So that'll be interesting as well for Canopy Growth. But it's basically they're the bellwether. So for now, until some other company that's had a bigger cash position is able to really dominate and like say, fuck you, Canopy, fuck you, Kron, we're the big dogs, get out of the way. But nobody has a bigger cash position or bigger revenues that can just like give the middle finger. I mean, GW Pharma has close like revenues if you do a conversion with the USD. I think they're probably going to do over 100 million the next quarter for sure. And their profit margins are amazing with GW Pharma, but they're also working on research and development. Okay, I'm just going to talk to you guys. The market is closed in the US. No, JG, it is not. Is it? Isn't it Washington's birthday? I'm not sure, man. I was talking to somebody, and they said it wasn't open. It was open on Monday, so I thought it was going to be open. Let's look. What is it? February 16th. February 17th, USA markets open. Oh, holy shit, you guys are right. Oh my God, fuck. Why didn't I know this? Oh, oh well, I made the live stream, but regardless, I mean, the same type of information you guys can use on Tuesday. So it is what it is. Yeah, thanks, Sheldon Snow. I'm feeling a little bit better, but it's not easy. Uh, I lost my brother 2.5 weeks ago. Every like it happened on Friday. I was like pretty dead inside when it happened, but every Friday since then, it's just been like tough to deal with. But family will get through it. Bio still start to replace Gatorade at major sporting events. Right on, Sheldon Snow. I think you're absolutely on the ball with that. Where do you get that information? Are you talking about Vancouver hockey games, or are you talking about Edmonton, or are you talking about in the States? Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think they'll definitely promote it very well, just with if regulations get there. But I don't know if David Klein really wants to spend too much money on marketing at this moment. I think he just kind of wants to have like organic growth and get it into certain states and just have more distribution. But who knows? VFF can't. Cura will have bigger revenue soon. Yeah, you're saying as like with the Select, is that right? Or some other acquisitions? Or have those closed? I haven't been following Cura's story because I kind of think that they're kind of overvalued, based on them having a lot of shares outstanding. But I mean, the market can take it a lot higher. So it hasn't really been high on my radar list, but I'm not saying they're a bad company. I just know that they have a lot of shares outstanding. So I don't know how high it can go, but I do know, I think it could go to like $15-20 Canadian, like 10 to like $14-15 USD. Yeah, JG, it looks like you are right. That's unfortunate, but that's okay. The same information applies towards Monday. I mean Tuesday, my bad. I think holiday mostly is spending a lot on marketing. Yeah, so is Aurora Cannabis. So what Aurora Cannabis does is they'll send all these like little flyers to all the dispensaries. So, and then as well, I think it's smart to spend a bit of money on marketing. I think it's very wise for some companies. I know Zenabis was going to dispensaries and just giving product knowledge to the bud tenders. And I know I talked to the dispensary in my town, and Kronos has been there, and they said that people were having complaints with their oils because it's a lot of waste, right? It's like a big container, but very little amounts of CBD in it. So they're like, oh, this is a waste. all these like environmentalists are just going like ape shit about like everything nowadays, right? But they're still using like they're still using their cars. uh, Anyways, I don't want to get too political and get banned from YouTube or something. Think so. Mostly speculation, but in the States, they're spending a lot of Canada be spending almost 3 times the amount, but I guess that's why they did better. Yeah, they must be spending money on the USA a little bit. I think it's good. I think the potential to be that's what I've been talking about this for a few months, like very briefly, because the revenues aren't there, but I've been thinking it and out loud that Chronos and Tilray and Canopy have the potential to really mess up with Charlotte's Web and some other CBD companies, because they with Tilray they got Manitoba Harvest, and they have a confection company, and then Chronos has Lord Jones as well as Juul for vapes and stuff if they were to go that road, or they just do the C cell with Tilt, but as well as Canopy with their First and Free and BioStill, right? So that can really disrupt Charlotte's Web. Why I haven't been advising people to look into Charlotte's Web, because I think their market share is going to get really displaced, and that's why they took a loss last quarter. So I mean, I don't think they're a bad company, but they're definitely not number one on my list as far as cannabis companies to look into, for a good reason, right? Cannabis, yeah. But did you see ACB came out with Value Brand? Yes, I did. Sheldon Snow. Yeah. Rich TV was doing that. I didn't know anything about that, so I watched his stream. I also commented on him saying that I think it's good, because basically with $40 eights, when some companies only have $40 eights, if you're to get an ounce, like in the black market, people buy ounces all the time. Hey, Five Finger. Yeah, I gave you a shout out. I said it was your idea to do this Sunday night live stream. I didn't announce it, but I'm glad it's growing. More people are coming into the live stream. If you haven't hit the like. I appreciate it, and then maybe go even bigger. But yeah, so ACB Value Brand, what I'll say is it's good, but they don't have. I think it's not going to have great terpenes profile, but it has a high THC, so it's going to very much compete with Hexo OG Stash. With Zenabis, they have the Re-Up brand, which it seems to have the same terpene profile, but it has lower THC strain. Because this is what I talked to with the dispensary lady in my town. She said she looked in a microscope and she said the Zenabis Re-Up program is the same as Namaste program for Zenabis. So that, except it has a lower THC, but with the daily special is basically has a high THC, but it looks like the terpene profile might not be as good, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not, if they have an indica, I would try it. Now, if it's just a sativa, because that's the one I saw in BC Cannabis Store, I think it was selling for, I think it's a great deal. I don't think there's a better deal in BC right now. I know that OG Stash was 125, but then in Ontario there was like 140. So if it's in BC, it may be sold out, so they couldn't order. So there's only a few orders. So it is in BC, but it just sold out so fast that the dispensary wasn't able to buy for the black market, because with Zenabis, it's like re-up is like $20. You can get Sensi Star re-up. So that's, if you buy an 8, that's like $160 in tax. But that's like fairly reasonable. And then, but Hexo OG Stash at 125 or 140 an ounce in Canada is pretty good, because then you're talking about $100 USD. I'm sure you guys pay a lot more than $100 USD for lots of ounces in the States. And like with Aurora's daily special, it was $65 for what was it? It was at 15 grams. So that's even more than a half ounce, because I believe an ounce in cannabis is 28 grams, but I could be wrong. I know in bullion it's 31 ounces, but regardless, if you're talking about $65 for 15 grams, that's That's around like 430 or 450, somewhere around that range without like doing the actual calculations. A lot of stuff going on, but $4, 450, that's a very good deal. And people that don't want to spend a lot of money, they'll buy that. I think it should do pretty good. But they just have so much product, right? They produce like 30,000 kilograms and then they're selling maybe like 10,000 kilograms. Why not just like blow them out, right? If it's not the greatest quality, just sell a ton, right? Just sell tons and tons at low prices. Okay. I'm gonna look at your guys' comments. I think so too. I think the same about Truel being so focused on Florida. Well, Sheldon, Truel's not just in Florida. They're also in Massachusetts and in California. Now, 90 to like 98% of their revenues are in Florida, but they are going to be, adding like 10 to 15, 20% of their revenues in 2020 and 2021 in other states. So, but True release with LHS and Cure opening so many stores. Well, I don't know, man. I think that I look at the OMO numbers and they're off the chain. They were selling 11,000 ounces last week, and then you got like Liberty Health Sciences and Kira, not that great. I mean, they were a lot lower. So I think Truel is still gonna have the lion's share for a while. I mean, if the numbers start to change on the weekly, then I'll start to agree with your sentiment on that. But I think that as far as them having the lion's share, no, I think Truel will have the lion's share for quite a while. Uh, Mad Max, yeah, that's right, Mad Max Shucka piece. Yeah, no, I should have the record for the most nicknames in my life, but I'm not gonna share all my nicknames. But I think Five Fingers probably heard a few of my nicknames though. Oh yeah, I am not buying the trash. Just saying, not a bad move. Hmm. GNPX is one to watch for biotech. They just came out with a diabetes cure or something like good to watch. Diabetes is a huge problem in the country. I agree. JG in the house. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about GNPX. I'll look at it maybe after the stream. I'm not very fond about bio companies. They're just really volatile, and I don't know the industry. I mean, there's always dates and stuff, but I don't know where to find that, right? I just gotta stay within my circle of competence and where I think I have an edge. So, the industry is so hard, and I've been taught so many lessons in the last year or two about like just make myself look stupid as hell, right? Just even with all the knowledge I knew previously. So, I gotta just focus on EBITDA positive. Like, not I don't really even like EBITDA positive. I want net income companies. So, companies in the silver and the gold space are really attractive if silver and gold start going up a lot. I'm talking about Pan American Silver, PAAS, because they're talking about 625,000 to like 675,000 silver ounces this year, and then it was like I think it was like I can't remember the number of gold, but that's like a good chunk, and they didn't used to have gold, so it seems as though Pan American Silver, their valuation isn't really even set with the gold, but they're gonna report, and that should change as well as if the price starts going up. I mean, if gold goes to 1600, 1700 or something like, and it really starts bumping up, and then silver starts going to 18, 19, 20, 21. Because what a lot of people don't understand, because they haven't been following the commodity space, is a lot of these producers, it costs them like $15, $16 an ounce just to get out of the ground, right? So a lot of them are losing money. Now, once you start making 17, 18, 19, 20, every dollar that you make in profits is like just cash flow, especially for Wheaton Precious Metals or Franco Nevada, because those are royalty companies and they pay like F all. They pay like $400 per ounce that they get from other companies to do their work. And if gold's like $2,000, they're just raking it in, and then they can give out dividends. But I do think Wheaton Precious Metal is kind of overvalued, but they're really one of the only streamers you can have. So a lot of the institutions are piling into them. I think this is a great idea coming on. Will really grow your channel. Thanks, Five Finger Lid. I appreciate your support. You being one of the biggest supporters of the channel. Yeah, it could happen. I'll try to do it next week potentially. I don't intend to go live stream that often, but I think this is a good idea. I'll see what my plans are next week. And yeah, I mean, if I could just do it for like 1 or 2 hours, I guess every couple weeks, or I mean every week, I guess that'd be cool. And just talk about coming up to the market, what are stocks to look at, and you know, what things to look for the market, because a lot of things happen over the weekend and then they kind of change dynamics. Uh, Finance. Okay. I'll look at that later, JG. I just try to stay focused on what we're talking about. Just saying they kind of in the same situation as C-Web. Who's in the same situation as C-Web? Sheldon, I don't understand your where you're talking about. ACB cheap weed. I mean, value man equals trash. Yeah, yeah. Listen, I think that there's people that don't care so much about quality. They just want high THC. So, you know, if they can get high, they don't care if it looks super beautiful. They just want to get some weed, you know. So I think it's nice that they can get legal weed for $65 for you know, 15 grams. Obviously, it's not going to be like that in your regular dispensary because there's markup, probably like $75, $85 or something like that. But it's still a very nice attractive, because I know when I was dealing with a black market dealer, you know, I was paying about, you know, that's pretty cheap, right? And then you can get an ounce. But if people got to pay like $60 for an eighth, they're never really going to stick with the licensed producers, because they're going to be like, I don't have the budget to spend this money. I used to only spend like $100 a month on my cannabis consumption, and I was getting high every day. Now in the legal market, I got to spend $100, and this only gets me high every like 7 or 10 days, right? They're going to be like, F this, I'm going back to my dealer. Even though the dealers can be hard. That's why the legal producers have a great opportunity to really rein in and make a lot of money, because a lot of the black market, they're like, oh well, come meet me at 7:45, and then you know, they want to meet you at a certain time, right? So it's all on their schedule. Now, if you go to a legal producer, like a dispensary, and they're open from like 10 to 11, you got 12, 13 hours to decide when you want to go. You got more choices, because when I went to the black market guy, all he had was just Kush, right? So you get Kush. Now, if I want to get sativa, if I want to get a vape pen, all this stuff like that. I know there's gray markets that have vapes and all that stuff, but they're probably going to get shut down in the future. Nickel's supposed to be going up. I appreciate it. We're all friends here. Thanks, JG. I agree. We're all friends here. We got to be kind to each other and understand sometimes the market's going to beat us up, and sometimes we're going to make a killing, and we got to take our profits and stay into cash and all that good shit. But yes, nickel, I believe, will go up. You've been following my tweets pretty good. So yeah, I've had a lot of good tweets on my Twitter page. If you're not on my Twitter page, at Compound Stock 13. But basically what I talk about is that nickel is very high in demand for the battery metals, right? So everybody's so hyped on Tesla. Meanwhile, they're going to have to work on where they're going to get all this demand so they can actually move forward with all their ideas to be big in the EV space, right? So that's really their predicament. And, you know, that's eventually it's going to take shape where nickel will explode. And some of these companies that need a lot of nickel, you know, they're going to make money. So yeah, I like Nilsy, Nornickel. They're Russian oligarchs and they pay a 7 or 8% dividend. But I just have a small position in them because I believe that I don't think things can go bad. They're the number 2 biggest producer, as well as what I really like about Nilsy is palladium, and palladium's going through the roof, as well as rhodium. Now, as far as exploration, I do own GGI, and it's an interesting company as well in Canada. And I don't think Canada is the greatest jurisdiction to have a nickel exploration to actually get into a mine, because just the way our government is. But regardless, they do have a Vale. And so Vale's the number one company for nickel, but I don't really advise to necessarily buy it based on nickel, because they're a bigger steel player than they are nickel. So, but their Vale, they're like guy VP of Canada, he joined GGI to be on their board of directors. So, and it was a very bullish news release. They're talking about how they have palladium, platinum, and rhodium. So I was like, whoa, rhodium! I never saw that in any of the drill results. So they had rhodium, but rhodium's $11,000 an ounce. 11,000. That's like 6-7 times more expensive than gold. And palladium's $2,500 an ounce. So if they can get a lot of it out of the ground, that'll be a lot of money to be made. So I mean, there's a lot of competition. What they call it with Voisey Bay, and Voisey Bay was one of the biggest. Is the biggest nickel explorations, and it got sold to Teck Cominco and Vale for like 4 billion. So it's interesting that Vale's joining, like a guy from board of directors from Vale is joining GGI. So GGI is at 80 cents. I'm not saying necessarily buy their speculation company, but I mean, there's big potential in that company. But anyways, I'm moving forward on other things. Check out PW. A little more about the industry they're in from way before Truel and C-Web. Yeah, I know what, Sheldon. I think it'll be interesting how things shake out. I think the industry is very fragmented, so you really have to look at profitable companies, because there's any mistakes are just going to be magnified, because the market's just so upset with things that these institutions will beat the crap out of the companies if they don't do good things. So you spend $500 a month on cannabis meds. Yeah, listen, that's a lot of money, man. And you're in the USA, man. So yeah, you order black market over the internet, no other choice really. Oh yeah, I guess you guys don't really have much going on in, was it Northwest Territories? I know there's companies like, I think Tilray and Zenabis are in Yukon, but yeah, maybe not with Northwest Territories. Thought I saw palladium at 3,200. Sheldon, yeah, $3,200 would be a correct, most likely, because when I say the numbers, I talk about it in USD, because they're always in USD. So if someone asked me to convert, then I would just times it by like 30%. So 2,000, you times that by 30%, it's like $2,700, right? So you're probably adding another $800, right? So yeah, it should be around 3,300 without having my calculator to do the exact equation. And rhodium at $10,000 in USD, that's like 13,000 Canadian. So it's a hell of a lot of money. It'll be interesting with China, man. I don't know. I haven't really been talking about China. I just don't really think it's a worthwhile to really hype up the coronavirus. It's not my game. But I have my own opinions, and they're a little bit out there, and I'm not really going to talk about them too much, but I don't really agree. Anyways, what are your thoughts on SBCE? Well, I'll tell you, that's interesting. I was going to talk about this, but it wasn't going to be on the bullish side, man. I'll tell you straight up, I'm looking to actually make a put on Monday, or well, I can't trade tomorrow, so Tuesday. I'm looking to do a put on SBCE. So I don't know if it's at like 23, 24 bucks. So my thinking is, if it starts going like $25, $26, it's going to, and I'm just going to get ready and pull a trigger on like a $22 put, good for like a week or 2 weeks. And then as soon as it goes down $1 or $2 or $3, and I get like 50 to like 150% on my call, then I'll just sell it, and then I'll just like chill. I'm like, okay, that's good. So Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't have a bullish position on SPCE because I just don't really have any time for speculation anymore. I just want to be a wiser, more predictable investor. And yeah, you can make money on speculation, but a lot of people lose all their money on speculation. So that's why Warren Buffett and companies like institutions that don't do too much speculation. I'm talking about like Ray Dalio, right? So what his game is, he puts bets on like say 20 companies or so, and then he'll have like a 5% in some industry like banking, another 5% in gold, another 5% in like Apple or, Amazon, another 5% in another industry. So, but he picks the best companies that he thinks are undervalued. And then he also has cash position for when things get undervalued. And he's being able to be one of like the top 50 richest people in the world. And he just started learning from, I watch Valuetainment. He does interviews. He's very popular on YouTube, and he did the interview with Ray Dalio. And Ray Dalio was saying that basically with golfing, he was golfing with his dad's friends and stuff like that, and he just like chit chat with them, and he started learning about stocks from just golfing, right? And then he got into golfing, and then rest took off. But it's interesting. Uh, next, it's the next IPR real estate company. So, but are they in cannabis? Five finger lid. 760 million quarantines in China. Yeah. At 12, waiting for it to jump back in. Summertime will be huge. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's I think it has a lot of potential to get beat down on SPCE. But yeah, it can keep open a huge position. First flight, yeah. I heard Buffett opened a huge position in VFF. Yeah, I don't know about that. I'd have to see the link. I don't believe he did, but that'd be funny. Stocks I want a core position in over the next year for long-term hold. SPCE, CRSPR. Oh, Jimmy Buffett. Okay, right on. Is Jimmy Buffett still alive though? Um, yeah, man. I don't know. It'll be interesting SPCE, but I'm not really betting on their technology yet. Yeah, you could go up a lot. I just I just think it's right now. I try not to look too far ahead of time, but I'm just looking at doing a put on SPCE and making like $100 or $200 on Tuesday maybe, and go from there. But we'll see. CRISPR equals gene editing. Interesting. Yeah, well, five finger lid. You're just a G. You're just a gangster. You spend money on weed. You're telling me about when you're on Oregon, and you're trying all the edibles. You're like, I love the edibles. SPCE will send 6 or 8 people in space in July. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Yeah, maybe I'll look into getting a call position if things look right. But for now, I think it's more overvalued for what's going on right now. That I'm not really thinking about bullish on them. I think there's better companies that are safer to invest into right now. So yeah, I mean, I know there's a lot of people on YouTube that are talking about SPCE, but I'm trying to be more focused on not as speculation. I mean, it was impossible to really go into the cannabis space without being speculative. But now that things are kind of maturing, I just want to have a more mature, and I don't really need to be necessarily in cannabis. There's other commodities that have a lot of potential to go up a lot. I'm talking about uranium, nickel, I'm talking about silver, I'm talking about gold, and palladium and platinum and rhodium and stuff like that. But that's hard stock to look into. I know that Nilsy gets a bit of rhodium as well, so it's going down. Yeah, if JG says it's going down, it's going down. No, I don't know, man. I just want to. I think I just want to be. My goal is just to have every company in my portfolio to be profitable, right? So as soon as a company has less earnings and they start like going against the grain, like kick them to the curb. I'm talking about like being so critique, like soup, like Seinfeld, like being that soup guy, where it's like no soup for you, but instead of that, it's like no investment for you. I'm not investing in that. No investment for you guys. When is earnings, Sheldon? Ooh, interesting. Uh, I know a company that I've talked about a bit, and it's starting to go up a little bit, and it has an actual business, but now they got cocaine nasal spray, right? It's called LCI. It's called Lanet, and it was up 14 cents. So I think the big resistance is $10. So I think if it could go to 10, it could start running up really good. So I'm gonna watch that. It's interesting. Cocaine nasal spray that was FDA approved. Yeah, you heard that right. FDA approved. So they also have different technology, like biotechnology. So that'll be interesting how things shake out with that. I know that GW Pharma has gone up a bit, 127. There's this stock called ARNA that some of the ETFs, I know Tim Seymour's ETF has it. So it's ARNA, and it's a pharma company, and they're trading at $54. I'm not sure of their exact market cap, but they have like an actual business, but they're also in cannabis as well. Like they're just kind of like a Scott's Miracle Grow, where they have a little bit of a cannabis subsidiary, like part of their business. Yeah, well, CTS is doesn't have a lot of debt. I don't think they have much debt on their books, and they had a lot of cash before the thing went down. So I don't know. I think that CTS. I'm not touching CTS T, but there's certain reasons, as well as there's big banks that put a lot of money into CanTrust, and they want to keep it up. So I don't know. You can't dictate the markets. All the big money does. But over the next couple months, I need some. What about that magic mushroom company Mr. Wonderful has invested in, as well as okay, Sheldon Snow? Yes, I've seen that before. I saw the Mr. Wonderful is pretty cool. You guys, if you got time, you should check out his YouTube channel. He makes some cool videos, and he does like the guitar. I kind of like that idea. You know, if I had a guitar or the drums, just do videos, and like from time to time, just like hit the drums, or like try to learn the guitar, play the guitar. But he's like pretty good on the guitar. And okay, so anyways, let's talk about the mushroom company. Is MindMed. Okay, so that's an IPO, and it hasn't gone out. So yeah, I do think that could be a very big player. And then with the same company that's connected with Tilray, what's the one? Anyways, it's called Compass, and they're connected with the same kind of subsidiary guys as Tilray. So if those both IPO, I'm gonna watch them like a hawk for sure. I think MindMed could go up a lot, but I just would want to see. It's not out yet, right? So it's only these big guys such as Bruce Linton and Mr. Wonderful that can get into it, as far as I know, or institutions, I guess. But then if they IPO and things make sense, they could potentially have a big run like Tilray, but probably not nearly as big, just because I think just cannabis industry is way bigger than the potential for mushrooms. But there's potential with mushrooms. But what do I think of Heritage Cannabis Holdings? Well, they have about 475 million shares outstanding, so that's kind of deters me from wanting to have a position, as well as they also haven't really shown any revenue. I don't think they had any revenue. They should be showing revenue now, so I will be interested in seeing their revenues. But as far as to be interested into buying them, I think they're more of a speculation as far as, and they're also kind of like a cult stock on Twitter and stuff. So we'll see. I mean, I think they can go up, but I'm not really going to touch them. I just want to have companies that I think have a investor presentation last night, and it's so impressive. You know, you're talking about like 37 cents EPS for 2019. Like I mean, that's just a really freaking good EPS. When you're talking about Apple being a $325 stock and doing $4.99 EPS, I mean, so when you look at that and you compare that, then realistically, like Valens should be like $30 or $25. So I mean, what will they get there? I don't know, but I'm not, maybe not $25. I'd have to do the math, but I think they should be more like $10, $15. And they also don't have a big cash position like Apple, but they have zero debt on the books. Like Valens has zero debt. So that's freaking awesome. Now, Heritage Cannabis doesn't have any debt. So that is a good thing, but they're looking to get into debt and they may do something, but no, I'd want to see their revenues be profitable before I touch them. And they would have to be like at a good valuation. I don't think their valuation, I mean, 125 million. Now, if they did really good revenues, I could justify it, but not yet. And Valens also has way more cash. They have like 60 million or something in cash, and they're just ripping it. Like they're basically, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty certain that they did 10 to 13 million last quarter in net income. So that's about like $3 to $4 million every month. So when other companies, they're losing like 5 million or 10 million or 20 million or 30 million every month. And then you got a company like Valens that's taking in 3 to 4 million of cash flow every month. They're building up their cash reserves. Like, fuck. Like, I mean, it's just no brainer to me unless things go bad for them and things like they lose market share and they lose all these contracts or something. But PW, check it out. MJND Med or something. I watch him. IPO soon. Yeah, I don't know when it IPOs, because there's always hype that the IPO will happen. I mean, just look at High Times, right, or some other ones, and then they never go through. So we'll see. Power RT. Yes, my wife is buying those. I'm pounding the table here, guys. Check it out, PW. Okay, I'll check it out. Let's look at it. I don't know how to figure out how to add a screen with this live streaming, so that's the reason why I can't show my screen. But I am looking on stocks as well, so you can just see my beautiful face, and then I'm also looking at stocks. And I got my headphones to make sure you guys can hear me too, so that's good. So 1255 Power RET PW, interesting. So yeah, that's interesting. I'd have to look into they're about 2382 million. Very tight float. Wow, that's a tight float. Yeah, you might be on the ball with that, man. I gotta look into that, man. I think you could be onto something. Their PE ratios are like 38.8, so it's not too bad a PE ratio. But just the hype, if it was like 2 million shares, oh, they could. It's a little IPR. Look at it, just up. Oh, are they? Yeah, I didn't really look at the chart. I wonder if it's too late. I don't want to be late to the party, man. Actually, that doesn't look late. Honestly, looking at that chart, man, I think you're right, man. I think it could really start running up to 15, 16, 17, 20, $25 potentially. But for all we know, it could come down on Tuesday back down to like $10 because it has gone up 50%, right? So it could retract down to like 30%. I'd have to look at the candlesticks to think like, oh yeah, I want to buy. But it's definitely interesting. Thanks for that pick, Five Finger. I will definitely get a little more involved in looking into that company because yeah, you could be onto something, man. I want to look at their cash position, but their market cap's pretty freaking low. What are they on the? Yeah, they're on the NYSE too, man. Yeah, fuck yeah, that could be a really good one. I think that's a good one. I'm gonna look into them a little bit more, man, and look in them when it starts trading, right? Because then when it starts trading, then it's like, oh, what's coming back down? I'm not gonna buy it when the trend changes, right? That's a good buy, Five Finger. I hope you don't have like too big of a position. Like, I mean, you don't want to risk all your money in one stock, but just wait. I guess if things start coming back down and it's like, oh, it's going from like 12 to like 11 or something like that, and you start seeing it go down to like 9 or whatever, just get out, I guess, and then you could come back in. Yeah, Five Finger. How come you didn't tell us at 750? It's like yeah, it went up. It went. I told you the stock went up 500%. It's 500%. Now you gotta buy it now. No, it's like Like, shoot me. No. Uh, what else? What else was I looking at? Oh yeah, so JG, he was asking about Zynerba, and Zynerba does have some interesting stuff, but I'm not sure when they're gonna be, have it come out. So that'll be interesting. Who found out from Jason Spatafora? Five Finger did, or was it the Zynerba? Yeah, I know Five Finger Lid. I'm just kidding, man. I know. I think you have been talking about it. I think I've watched you like in the live stream. With Rich's live stream. I think you have been talking about that PW. I was just kidding, man. But no, man, that's awesome. Sometimes it's hard, man, to like lose. You don't want to be too flexible in your thinking, right? Because then you're any opportunity, okay, that's good, but then you don't also want to be too stiff where there's like a good chance that there's great profits to be had, and you're like, no, I don't want nothing to do with that. So it's about finding the balance and then like using those together and be like, okay, yeah, this is a good opportunity. I'm going to manage my risk, right? If it starts coming down, I'm out. But yeah, Zynerba will be interesting. Zynerba's at 449. What is they're not scary at all. Okay, so natural gas is up 2.81%, right? So what happens with natural gas is when the weather starts getting colder, they get weather, then the prices can go up because they're going to use more natural gas. But then it starts going back down. So, natural gas is crazy. You can trade it with HNU on a daily, or you can trade, there's like a PEY, but in Canada was a good one. They were like half oil, half natural gas, but then they just like went to the USA, and now they're called like Alventit, and they did a reverse split. So I'm not really interested in them. Enbridge, oh yeah, man. Yeah, what is it, like a 4% dividend, man? I can't wait to get my Nilsy dividend, man, and be like, woo, I got some money in my pocket. Yeah, no, I told my mom actually, because my mom has a very good, she's done pretty good in the market, but she doesn't invest crazy like me, but she just, for like 35 years or something like that, or maybe less than that, she was just doing RSP. And even if you're getting like 6% or whatever, it's money that you didn't think you'd have, right? So if you're putting aside like $3,000-$4,000 every year, and then over time getting like 4 or 5 6% growth in those stocks, eventually like it really adds up. And then now she's got she's accumulated a fair amount of money, but she hasn't risked her money like investing into like cannabis stocks and lost money. So I mean, it's she doesn't have to worry, but at the same time, it's all like kind of correlated with the SPY. So if the SPY starts getting crushed, she's gonna get crushed, but not as hard as like some other companies. 5.78, that's awesome. Mad Max Sunday Night Live, yeah, we doing it. Shaka. Yeah. So Enbridge, baby. Yeah. So what else is going on? Copper's coming up. So copper stock to look into. What I also saw on the Bollingers was with copper was that now it's in the bullish side. So I don't know if I coined this, but I'm gonna say I coined it because unless someone else proves me wrong, then whatever. But you got the 20 SMA in the Bollinger Bands, and then the bottom part I call it the bearish side, and then the top part I call it the bullish side, right? So I mean, when it has a golden cross, then it starts going in the bullish side of the Bollinger Bands. So I saw that today. Copper got into the bullish side of the Bollinger Bands, and on the daily, right? So a company that I really think is the best for copper is called Freeport McMoran, and they're called FCX ticker in USA. Yeah, I'm so good looking. Thanks, buddy. Try to eat healthy. But yeah, so FCX, Freeport McMoran, and there's also rumors that they may be selling an asset, and we'll see. But 2.626. They've gone up about 0.88%. On our red, on a 15-minute on the candles, they just got a red, so we'll see how that turns out. But it does kind of seem that it's been uptrending ever since it hit 2.5, and I'm looking on the weekly as well. It went down from 2.845, and then now it's coming back up. And on the weekly, there's been 3 big bullish candles on copper. So if it rises above that, that's like a cup and handle, and then it could boom up. I'd like to see it go to like 3.25. But if Freeport McMoran is, it's an interesting player, and they've been as high as like $50-$60, and a lot of people in the mining space obviously know the company, right? It's not just some random company. So I don't know. I'm gonna start going in a bit, but if you guys got a few more questions, I can finish it off. And yeah, Mad Max Sunday Night Live. Yeah, that's right. I remember hearing something coming out this month. I thought for Zynerba it was like $15, but oh yeah, JG, because they have a really tight float with Zynerba. Zynerba's got about 20 million shares, so it can really move up. As well as I know Tim Seymour's got a position, I believe, in his ETF. So it could move up, but we'll see. They have good technology, but it's just based on if they get FDA approval or stuff like that. That would really hyper move that company into the upside. The last time I played it, it was like $5-$6, and I played a 750 strike for like 3 months out, and then it went up to like $9, and then I rolled it over to a $10 strike, and then it went to like $11 or $12, and then like I made money. But yeah, there is a divvy on Freeport McMoran. I don't think it's great, but at the same time, it's good. It's this. You're very intelligent. I think we had this discussion about how much money they're paying out on their dividend, right? So you don't want a company. I was having this discussion with a guy on Twitter. He's a really smart guy, and he's telling me, it's the payout ratio, right? But okay, their yield for Freeport McMoran is 1.634, and they do a quarterly dividend of 5 cents, and the stock's trading at $12.50. How long? See the 5-year chart. Yeah, so the 5-year back in 2015, it was like 23.60, and then it's gone as low as 3.94 in 2016 when oil crashed, and then it went to 8.83 in October 5th, and it's gone as high as like $13, and it just came back down to 11.10, and now it's coming back up. So it's interesting. It's just they're also cobalt too, so they're not just copper. Okay. Yeah, Five Finger Lid, I respect your intelligence on the channel. You have a lot of intelligent things to say. I think you've been killing it on the market, so no, I trust what you're saying, man. I think you could be onto something, buddy. I'm gonna look into them a little more. I mean, I don't need to trade till Tuesday, because now I know from JG that it's not going to be open on Monday. I thought it was. I thought I was smarter than than I thought, but whatever. Oh, you have a trailing stop loss, man. That's good, man. That's a solid call. Trailing stop loss is a good idea, but at the same token, if the stock had some news like, they're having a lawsuit, a $1 billion like lawsuit because they did X, Z, and Y, and it closed at 12.45. That's your trailing stop loss. It's just going to hit the market. So you're going to get all the hit as far as it goes if you have the trailing stop loss overnight. But I just want people to understand that, because I think it's bad if people think that that the bad things can't happen, and then if something does happen, they're like, oh my God, well, people told me like this. It's like, well, no, it can do bad things. That's trailing stop loss, but the trailing stop loss is or maybe is it like 5%? I guess it just depends on the broker, but you'd be like, okay, 12.50 is the price, and then you set your stop loss $1 below that, so it's always going to go up. So then it goes to $13. Then the trailing stop loss will go to $12. It goes to 14. Then it go to 13. Goes to 15. Then it'll go to 14. That's my understanding. What have you used the trailing stop loss 5-finger lid? Can you tell me how you kind of think about the trailing stop loss? If you care, it's up to you, man. Payout, yeah, the payout ratio, yeah. Another dividend that really I should have got onto it, but whatever. Their financials were pretty good actually. Rogers Sugar, they have a lot of debt, right? They have a lot of debt, but the biggest sugar player, and they're in Canadian on the TSX RSI, like relative strength index. But anyways, RSI had a big move after their earnings because they did 15 cents EPS for the quarter, and they were trading at like 460 or something, and then they went up to 550. So they could have some more big moves as well, but I know they have a lot of debt, so that can kind of keep them down. It's like I'm learning more about, it's called like debt to equity ratio, right? So especially when I looked at the Aurora financials, right? Basically, they changed the EBITDA covenants. So Aurora told officially, like they were like, oh, we're gonna get EBITDA, but then they didn't get EBITDA. So then they made a deal with the banks, and then they said 0.2. So their debt to equity ratio has to be under 0.2, right? And they're at about like 0.18, right? If you look at their debt, and the debt would be the liabilities, and then you divide it by the equity, all their assets. So their assets like 4.7, and I did the math, and it was like 0.18. So if they take on more debt or whatever, that could really mess up their rates with the bank or whatever. That has to be under 0.2. But the point I'm making is, it's just like the debt, can it be paid down, and when does it got to be paid down? And that really took me for a shock, how drastic these debt things can really mess with a company. I mean, I never really thought that it would cripple Aurora like it has, the debt, because I don't know, I just didn't think that. But at the same time, you got Apple that's got $90 billion of debt, but they also have $250 billion in cash. So I mean, it's interesting how things work out. I like dividends that drip equal rather than money you get stocks. Yeah, I think so, man. I think you're right, man. I think that's smart, man. That's what I was telling my mom. I was telling my mom she's over 65, so she can take out her RSP, but she's not. She's not getting paid. But I was like, well, why don't you talk to your financial guy and ask him if you could just get a dividend, right? So say, I don't know what she has in her RSP, but let's say she's got like $100,000 in her RSP. Now she was to like sell those position and then put like 30% into dividends, then if it was like even if it was just average like 3% or whatever on $30,000, you'd still be getting $900 added to her like yearly money. So that's fucking awesome, because she's so cheap. Like she'll buy like rice and whatever it takes. Like she just lives so frugal. But like $900, like then she can go on another trip, and she goes on lots of trips, and she doesn't spend any money on trips, but she can enjoy her life more, because if she was to talk to the bank and they would arrange her to do that, where even if she only did like $30,000 and she did 3%, she could get $900 back in money from the company for a year. That's compound interest. Yeah, baby. Compound interest. Yeah, man, that's been a big focal point for my, for my focus. I haven't really achieved the vision that I wanted to achieve, but that's the challenge, right? But exactly, compound interest is basically like, okay, you got $20,000, and then you get 10% interest on a stock. You buy, you get 22,000. Then after that, you get 10%, and you're like 24,000, like 300. and then you keep continuously do that like 10, 20 times, and then before you know it, you're at like $200,000. So that's where I need to be more disciplined in the market and understand that the compound interest, even off 5, 10%, if I have $10,000, will really make a lot of money in the long term. But that's going to be a focal point for the future. But I have to invest into less risky stocks to do that, because you just have no control when you're investing into penny stocks and how the trade kind of works. You're kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's so risky, man. I know long term, I think a lot of these are going to do good. Like I'm talking about like Tilt Holdings, or even like I think there's a good chance Cannabis will get out of this rut, but they do need to like refinance their debt, and it's going to be based. I was watching the drizzle.com, like that Scott Willis guy. He was talking about in November 15th or something, that it has a chance for it to 10x back then, and that was when it was like 17 cents. So, but he's looking at the risk on Zenabis, that the fact is that they have so much debt outstanding that he wants to wait before they refinance, before then they think that there's the upside on it. So, but he's saying they're the most interesting stock in the whole cannabis space, and I think so. But they're it'll be interesting how they forego. But I know that they already have launched the vapes, I believe, in like New Brunswick. And I'm not saying to buy Zenabis. I think they're extremely risky, but I'm just talking about them from an understanding point, that the whole compound interest thing, I don't think it really works in the cannabis space, investing into speculation. The only way to really like grow that compound interest and not lose that money, like you want to just win. Yeah, man, lots of people are down on Zena, man. I mean, unless you just bought like 2 days ago, you're down on Zena. That's the thing. The weekly on the Bollingers is about like the 20 SMA on the Zenabis is like 26 cents, and it keeps getting closer. So I think one of these like days, if there's big momentum, it'll start going up that way, but I'm not saying for sure. But it needs to get to the bullish side of the Bollinger Bands, and then the rally can happen, because it's being suppressed because these debt holders don't they want to keep it down, and they want to get more shares. That's my understanding. So if they can, I think they got like 6-7 trading days. If they can keep it below 15.5 cents, then they can arrange like, oh no, we want it for 13 cents or 12 cents or something like that, and then they're going to get more shares out. But if the Zanabest team can just like pump the stock up to like 16-17 cents, then they could start closing those convertible notes, and then that would be good for them. But I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Sheldon Snow. Compound interest only works with solid stocks that pay a dividend and that drip. You buy enough stock that you get paid in stock every quarter. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even need to be a dividend stock, but if you have a stock that's just continuously making earnings, and they're not doing less earnings every quarter, then the company's going to go up, because the EPS and the PE ratio, as long as the debt or nothing goes bad with the company, um, and you get it on the low side on the Bollinger Bands, and you get every thing to work for you, right? You're picking safe, like the safest investment in that industry. You're picking it at like 52-week lows. You're picking it when the momentum seems to be picking up. All these different things that you can work in your favor, that you have better odds, so you don't lose. And then, yeah, you can also use the stop losses, or you can just do artificial stop loss, like in your head. You're like, okay, at SPCE space, you buy it at like $20. You want to go to $24, and you're willing to take that $24 at $4 of profit, but you're willing to risk $1. So if you that's called like a 4-to-1 ratio, right? So then it's at $19. You're like, okay, I'm out, because you don't want to lose more than that. So as long as you win like more, if you win five, I don't know the ratio, but you're putting your odds as far as if you work that in your favor. But yeah. Uh, one penny turns into $1 million, and if you compound it. Yeah, it can definitely compound, buddy. JG's in the house. No, man, it's great, man. It's really awesome that we're all learning a lot, man. I mean, I know I'm not. I know when I built this channel to begin with, I was never an expert in the whole financial markets or anything like that. But with time, I think I've definitely like started to grow into the person I want to be. So I'm happy, and I'm happy that some of you guys in the channel that have really started to learn and become more intelligent with your investments. Like Sheldon's buying Enbridge that's got dividends. He's getting drips. That's awesome, man. That's really awesome. Um, and all those stocks make interest, but just as IMP is that the company increases its dividend every year. Yeah, well, what happens sometimes on these dividends too, man, is that the dividend can be a lot higher when the stock price is lower, right? So because say if the company only wants to do like 25 cents dividend rate, just because the stock went up like 10 or 15% or 50 or 100%, they're not doubling their dividend usually. Sometimes they do, but I'm saying like a lot of the time they don't actually really what I've researched. So when I've watched PPCE, and he was mentioning that too, that when the stock's at very low prices, you can get a lot of dividend on a stock, and then when the stock goes up, then you're getting the increase in the share price, and that's awesome. IMP is at the company. Dividend aristocrats or kings. Dividend aristocrats. Yeah, I don't have the best vocabulary. I don't understand exactly what an aristocrat is, but I've heard that term before. Uh, I'll show you, Sheldon. I'm gonna show you. Just give me a second. Just adding. Yeah, Radiant Technology. I agree. It could be a very good one. Five finger. Okay, this is it's on a bezel, right? So this is a silver ounce, and it has the queen, and it's 2016, and it says $5. Uh, can't do that. Anyways, it says $5, and it's 1 ounce, and it's a bezel. So I have worn that. Like I got a necklace, right? Silver necklace, and I just got the tiger here, but I put it on another necklace, and this is but the bezel, I need to have another thing. I need to go to a jewelry store and then put it so then I can put it onto my necklace. So it's probably gonna cost like $10-15 to get that. I've had it done before, but I lost the piece. So I mean, yeah, maybe in another video I'll be like just wearing it. It'll be like right here. It'll be like this, like uh Radiant Technology will be bigger than Labs. Ooh, it's an interesting call, man. Some companies have a history of raising their dividends for 50 years or 25 years. Yes, actually, Sheldon Snow. Yeah, man. I have I have this list I got from this guy on Twitter. So if you want to like DM me, I might be able to pass you that PDF, or at the very least, there's some companies that I can give you. I know Fortis is a very good dividend stock. They've been around for a long time. The banks like BMO seem to be pretty good, but yeah, dividends, man. I'd love to have a very big dividend portfolio. I was talking to my mom about that. I think it's weird. Like I'm not ashamed to say I talked to my mom about this stuff. I mean, I was just like out there after, out in Vancouver area, and I was staying up with my mom because it's cheap, and I'm just there. But regardless, I was saying, I was like, I want to build a dividend portfolio. I do. So say if like some of these stocks go up a lot, like say, a 10,000 position turns into like 50 or $60,000. Well, then sure, why not put like 5,000 or $2,000 into a dividend portfolio? So I'm still young, right? So if I continuously do that over like 20 years, so then before you know it, and then you're just like, whenever I feel like I'll add like 5,000 or whatever, if I work or whatever, and I'm just adding, and then before you know it, maybe I have like 100,000, dividend portfolio that gives me like 3 to 4%. So it's giving me free cash flow every year. And but it's also important that the stock's a good company too, because I wouldn't, my mentality would be with these dividends is I wouldn't just stay in them just because there's a dividend. If I think that the company's dying, like they're doing less earnings or whatever, I would just kick them to the curb. But I mean, it would come with time as far as how that's going to work out. But I do have a vision for how I'd want to have my dividend portfolio. I think some of the commodities that are very inexpensive as well, I'd like to have for my dividend portfolio, like Freeport McMoran, or what other ones, like Pan Americans. Even if I got 1% dividend, I wouldn't be super like unhappy about it. If I had $1,000 and they're still giving me $10 every year, if the company's going up in price, I mean, whatever, it's still something. They're out there, easy to look up. That's the arist. Be like Flava Flav. Oh, okay, I got what you're saying, buddy. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get mugged or anything like that and be all like flossy, be like, oh yeah, this is my 30-ounce gold chain. I'm balling. I'm just recently learning as well. Yes, Sheldon. No, man, I've really seen a lot of improvement in what you've been learning, man. I think it's very impressive. At some of the stuff you've been saying. I mean, that's awesome. I'm learning stuff from you. Uh, let's all do it. You should start a company and have CISG stock. I'll buy some. Yeah, man. We'll see. I'm the person that wants to like stay within my boundaries, right? I don't want to get too big. I'll tell you example, right? I was when I was about 20 years old, I was working in a welding shop, a gate shop, and I was just the fences, the gates. I was just putting on the fence, like the mesh, and then I just like tied stuff and I made sure it's like on right with. But anyways, there's like an impact gun and all that, and it was just a manual labor job, right? But they also did the gates in there, and then they also did the welding of the posts. And I didn't know how to weld before that, right? So this guy that was the post welder, he was telling me how to weld and he was showing me how to weld, so I was learning, but I wasn't that great. And then this guy, he was like, he got the job after he left, and this guy was all like hooked on drugs, and he was like falling asleep when he was welding. And there was like he was there for like a month or something like that, and I was like having to fill in for him and do all these welding for him, crushing it, always on time for like there's a lot of orders sometimes, and I didn't mess up on my orders. Like the guys that would go and get all the orders, sometimes they would mess up on whatever kind of information as far as how long the post was. I got all my shit to do, and I'd raise hell, right? But I don't know. I just was like, I didn't want to push into that. And then later, like I got into a welding apprenticeship, and then I finished my welding apprenticeship. But I mean, from the time that I did that till like that was like in 2006, and it took a long time, right? But I don't really like. I don't know. Just gotta go with. I gotta go with what I'm comfortable with. Yeah, yes, it needs to be a good company, growth and dividend. That's the key. But over 20, that's growth and dividend. Yes, Sheldon, I think so, man. I think there's so much time on our timelines to grow a dividend portfolio. I think that'd be great. I don't want to pursue all my money into a dividend portfolio. I think there's other assets to grow your wealth. I'm talking about real estate, flipping houses, just even like day trading or like swing trading, and then long-term investments and stuff. And just maybe like having your own business or something as well. Excuse me, investing into that. But yeah, yes, Sheldon Snow. I mean, it's a big kick to the hammer, man. Even like gold, man. I had about $25,000 or $30,000 when I was 18 years old, because I worked at my dad's TV shop, and I didn't spend any money, right? And then I was like, and that went to shit, right? Because I invested in this stupid company. But if I would have bought gold or Apple back then, it'd be like that would be worth a lot of money. I can't remember how much that'd be, but it would be in the hundreds of $1,000s or close to $1 million if I would have owned Apple stock. And even with gold was like $400 or $500, and it went up to $2,000. So that would be like 4x, right? So, I would have had like $100,000 if I would have put like $20,000 into it, right? So, I mean, it's just, you can't look back, but what you can is you can just read the chart and realize that there's going to be another time again for the commodities and different companies to really explode and stuff. Or where it will be in 20. Yeah, man. I think, okay, I'll tell you, I watch a lot of people's videos. I mean, I'm not this person that just like has all this information coming out of my ass and I can just learn it like all the stuff. I use resources, right? There's a reason why I'm on Twitter, or I watch people's YouTube channels, or I watch news releases so I can learn from other people. But regardless, is that Greg Manarino, I watch his channel, and he's saying that Trump is saying that mega, so MAGA. So he's talking about like, oh yeah, those stocks, those are the ones you want to own, and mega. And then as well, why I think there could be a really lot of pump up in the US equities is because he wants to get tax, like a tax, some tax benefits for people who are invested in the market. So whether it's like a sort of like a TFSA, or I don't know exactly what it'd be, but that seems beneficial for the USA market. Now with Apple's earnings, I was pretty impressed with their earnings, like 4.99 EPS. So yeah, I mean 4.99 EPS, and they're at about, like, based on times 4, that's like 17 PE ratio. So out of those companies, like Mega is it what is it? It's like Amazon, Google, and Apple. What is the M? Microsoft. Yeah, Microsoft. That's what it is. Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon. Okay. So those are the companies that he thinks are going to keep, like, he wants to pump up, right? So if people take him at his face value. So what I got out of that is, yeah, maybe I'll buy an Apple call option, or I'll buy a Microsoft call option. Amazon's kind of expensive. It's like $2,100. I mean, I don't know about that. Even doing call options on Tesla was hella expensive. It was like 1,200 USD to buy one call option. I mean, so I was very diligent to ensure I didn't lose my money on that, and I did good on it. But when you're buying big stocks for call options, or just buying the shares, like, that's pretty expensive. Not everybody can do that. Did I look at tech resources and that mega project that may get approved by in a month? Actually, Sheldon, I did look at that. I did look at Tech Kaminko. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't really understand if it will or won't. I'm not very pro as far as Canada being pro for that. Maybe they will, but I don't know, man. It's the Canadian government, and then you're talking about, even with all these protesters and all this like environmental, I'm almost bullish on the whole environmental space. Like, seriously, like, environmental thing, like, whether it's actually true or not. I mean, like, there's an argument for saying all the lithium mining's like way bad, uh and then you got to change the batteries every year for a Tesla. So there's a whole effing argument as far as that the environmental thing is just a fraud. On top of the carbon tax, like, Canada government makes you like pay all this carbon tax, but they don't. It doesn't change the weather or anything like that, and it's just a freaking farce. But I don't want to get too down in the rabbit hole about all that shit. But I have my opinions. So I don't know if I would want to get a Tech Kaminko position, but Tech Kaminko is a good company though. Um, You bought Microsoft and it's up only 10, but it is my start. Hey, buddy, I think that's freaking solid, man. I give you props for that, because the thing that is a lot of people are like, I gotta have a million shares of this stock because it's at 6 cents, or it's at 2 cents, or it's at half a cent. And they're like telling their friends, yeah, man, I'm a baller. I got so many shares of this company. But who cares if it's a dumpster trash company? Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't matter. If you own the best company in the world, and you only own 2 shares, or you own 5 shares, and the company is continuously going up, all it is just market cap and like the value of your portfolio. If you buy a stock that's at $200 and there's a great chance that's going to go to $300, $400, and you're playing that game, then it doesn't matter. What do you need to own 10,000 shares of a company that might go bankrupt in 2 months? It's not an intelligent investment. I mean, it takes a lot of humble attitude to do that, because I know there's a lot of like press out there saying like, oh, well, who wants to do that? You can own 7 Apple shares or 7 Amazon shares. But I mean, who cares? You own 3 or 4, maybe you get a raise at your job, or you get a better job in like 2 or 3 years, and you're making like $200,000 a year, and you can buy like, I don't know, 20 of them, whatever the case. I mean, it's more important about understanding that EPS, earnings, net income, and having companies, than ensuring that you have like 500,000 shares of a company that's on the brinks of going bankrupt. Yeah. Yeah, Sheldon, it is interesting. Tech Minko, I personally understand that business. I'm not going to get into details, but I do know the business. They work with a lot of different commodities. Okay, they have processes that they can get pretty much anything out at their facilities. You're talking about like germanium, like tantalum, like all these metals that no one effing knows about. They touch it all. They have a lot of debt on the books, but I mean, they have a really nice net income. But and they do a lot of lead and silver, all that stuff. They process it, and they also have like mines and stuff. They're a complex business, but yeah, I owned them once before at like $10, and then I sold them at $14. That was like back in 2016 when I started really investing again. I started with like $3,500, and that was one of the stocks I first owned, as well as Suncor. So I'm just gonna finish this coffee, and then got to get some food in my belly. Yeah, you'll hold for decades and build. Yeah, man. Gotta just own. I have a visualization as far as things go, is that some of these cannabis companies are gonna have dividends, right? So, but the only companies that are gonna have dividends, and ah, there's a few others, but if they're gonna be better in the future when their net incomes continuously grow, because they don't have reasons to put it into anywhere else. So they don't have a problem uh, giving it back to their shareholders if they have, like, in the future, if they're working for Shoppers Drug Mart and they're selling like 100 million in like 5 years to Shoppers Drug Mart, or in Europe they're selling like 50, 60 million, and it's caught, and they're doing so much profit margins and so much net income that they just have so much money going to them. They don't care to grow the business, because there's not really room to grow the business, because the industry doesn't need to really grow bigger. But they're doing so much profits, and they're like, oh, well, we have $100 million in profits for the year. We're just gonna give like 25, 40 million back to our shareholders who have been with us, and then that attracts more better investors as well. Wow, man, that's awesome, dude. I just bought 400 shares of Labs at, well, I did 2 purchases actually. I went pretty heavy. One in my TFSA and one in my cash position. Uh, I bought 400 at 262, and I bought 400 at 291. And I was kind of scared. I was like, ooh, because Canopy had the earnings. I was like, yeah, I think it's gonna go crazy. So I'm watching that. If it does start to retract, I don't want to lose on that cash position. I will sell out at like 297 if it starts going backwards, and I may buy it back. So 3,400 shares, 31 long term, man. That's awesome, dude. Mad props, mad props. Yeah, good night, JG. It's a great price. Yeah, I know, man. I've been hawking Labs, and whatever. Who gives a crap? The thing that I look about MediPharm Labs, that some people that are bearish on them, is that they're like one of the best sellers for their vapes, right? So they got Northern Lights vape under their brand Wayfarer that they're selling, and they're just they're buying just material like biomass from companies. And I don't know how it is this quarter, because my concern was that because Hexo didn't pay or something like that, that somehow that this would affect this quarter. But I don't think it does. I think it's from a previous quarter, but it may they may have to write it down, excuse me. So it's interesting. That's why I wasn't like bullish on them at like 350, just because I was like, well, why wouldn't I just buy Valens? Because there's no negative material news on Valens. But then, when it gets that low, I mean, I don't know, it seems like a pretty good opportunity to buy. Yeah, it's only 9 million, but my concern is, okay, if they did like 4.5 million in net income last quarter, well, if they did like 9 million and they have to take that off their bottom line and say they did 6 million this quarter, and then they're going to take a negative loss this quarter, like a negative 3 million or negative 4 million, right? So it'll affect them, and then the market's going to crush them. But for the time being, until the financials, I'm going to just play the financials, because I think there'll be hype involved with that. And I think it can go to like $5 or $4 at least before then. So we'll see. But yeah, I feel better about owning Valens for sure, especially with like their Sourcey technology. I don't know. I read their presentation. I mean, I may make a video about their presentation. I mean, I know I wasn't the first person to talk about Valens Growworks. Like, I know Tom the Trader used to talk about Valens, but I was like the first person to ever like understand all the dynamics behind why they're a freaking better buy than MetaFirm Labs, because their profit margins are way better than MetaFirm Labs. But MetaFirm Labs is saying that they're like, the guys I talked to on Twitter say that their profit margins are going to be better from now on, with buying the biomass with the and selling the vapes. So like in Ontario, if they because they have, it's like number 4 or number 5 vape, and then they also have a Blue Dream vape that's like in the top 10. So hell, they could add a lot of revenues from just those SKUs, right? If Ontario, I mean, that could add, I don't know how much, but it could definitely add like 20%, 30%, 40% revenues to their future quarters. But we'll see. They have a potential 200 million contract with TerraSend. Yeah. I mean, TerraSend's getting pretty big. I bought a Haven Street tea, actually. It's a sativa tea. It was like $5. Not too bad. Just like had it, and then I took the bus, and yeah, I was kind of ripped on it. But anyways, I'm getting tired, guys. Thanks for participating in this live stream. I talked about commodities, the biggest and the baddest commodity companies that we keep our eyes on. Appreciate Five Finger Lid bringing up the company PW, that I will look into the further. I think they could be very good potential with only like 2 million shares out. And we talked a lot about cannabis and just the commodities, and as well as everything going on in the sector. But yeah, be careful out there. No trading on Monday, Tuesday trading, and it'll be interesting. They could take it down, or they could gap it up and then take it down. I mean, things are going to be interesting, but I definitely think there's mojo in the sector with the new CEO David Klein, because he just seems like more sharp. Seems like he's going to take it by the horns and make the company a better company. But yeah, Sanders winning over states, really? Yeah, I don't know. There's people like Greg Manarino thinks that the election's already been decided and Trump's won. So I don't know, man. I kind of agree with him, but we'll see. Minutes long, talk a lot about commodities and cannabis, some of the biggest: uranium, nickel, EV companies coming into April with Tesla and all that stuff. So you guys have a better edge in the market to know what's going on with commodities and cannabis. And uranium is definitely to look into. CCO, CCJ, and in USA, triple U's, Energy Fuels. Bernie wins. That'd be interesting, man. Part of my brain thinks that maybe that at the end of the year, now that this impeachment's kind of over, that somehow things will work out, right? Like later in the year, there'll be like more more heat going into the election as far as the cannabis, and be like, all right, we'll get you guys the Safe Banking Act. He's all friends with all those guys like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan. So it's like, I think that they would make a lot of money by doing that safe banking. So I mean, whether he agrees with marijuana or not, he's just going to look at like, oh, my banking buddies will make more profits per quarter, so I'll hook them up. Yeah, sure, let's go. Yeah, exactly, man. So we'll see, man. I enjoyed everybody's comments, Sheldon and Five Finger Lid and JG. You guys add a lot to the discussion, and I'll try to maybe do this more often on a Sunday night. It was a good idea. Five Finger gave me to. I'm gonna give him props. Keep compounding info, listen to my lingo, and Shaka, Capiz, take care. Good night.